I'm Gabriel Beversluis, and I want to talk to you today about our dynamic variable stretching AFO, and just to explain to you how this goes on and how it works and how to adjust it. So with any nighttime stretching orthosis, particularly when we want to try to get some improvement in range of motion, there are really four things that are really important to have incorporated. The first one is we want to make sure we have a total contact correction system that wraps around and holds and maintains neutral alignment of the bones of the foot and the ankle to make sure that when we're applying a stretch here onto the foot, that it does not do damage to the foot itself. So correcting and maintaining the position of the subtalar joint so that when we push here, that it moves the ankle, and if the muscle on the back is very tight, we don't want to just push here and have this movement coming from the middle part of the foot. And you may be able to see this already happening with your child. This is what we're trying to protect, and this is the reason we have this orthosis that wraps around and holds intimately so that it holds the whole foot and stretches the whole foot to stretch the calf muscle back here. So having that correction and that total contact support is very important. That's number one. The second thing that we want to make sure we have is a dorsiflexion limit. And so this joint has a limit on it. That's as far as it goes, which is we set these at about 18 to 20 degrees of dorsiflexion. So that is our goal. And that is pretty close to a full and normal range of motion. So that's the goal, to get to that. So it doesn't matter if your child's currently at 90 degrees or if they're even stuck in a plantar flex position, we can start there. And the goal is to get that foot to come all the way up to about 18 to 20 degrees of dorsiflexion. The third thing that we want to have is an adjustable tension. And so with this mechanism here, this has a stretching strap, this dynamic adjustable strap here, which attaches from the foot up to the calf. We can release the lever here, which allows this foot to come back. And then it's a ratcheting system. So when we pull on this lever, hear that click. Each time it clicks, it's pulling just a little bit more, which it's kind of hard to tell, but that's going to raise the foot just a little bit more. Now there is still movement. It's like a spring-loaded tension system to this, so it does allow for that movement still, but the idea is that it's just going to push a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. And if we look back here, there's numbers on the inside of here so that you can see how far you're adjusting it, and each time it clicks up one number, then we're going to get it just a little bit stronger of a stretch. And so the goal is to start with a very low amount of tension. So this goes from 1 to 10. So we typically are going to start at a lower tension, and I will set that with you when you're in the appointment today, or when you come in for the appointment, so you know how much tension we want to start with. And then the general program is to increase that tension by about one click or one number per week. And that's only as long as it's being tolerated. So we're going to start at a low tension, which is still going to be doing some good, but it's not going to be pushing really hard, just trying to get them used to wearing it, etc. And then as we work to try to increase that stretch, then we're just going to, the next week you'd raise it up to the next number, the week after that you'd go to the next number, and each time it's just going to gradually give a little more tension to that foot, stretching it into dorsiflexion. But we do want to make sure that your child is tolerating it and that they're able to sleep. So if they are complaining that the discomfort from the stretch is too strong already, then we do not want you to keep turning it up. There is a point at which it will become too strong for a lot of kids, and so your goal, your job is to try to find that magic amount of tension that is tolerable, but then you know because you've slowly increased it, that you know you're getting the most that you can. One reason we do this sort of dynamic stretch like this is because we can increase the tension, but it also has that release. So if your child has increased tone or they just feel the need to stretch and push out, this will let them do that. Even at a high tension, it's going to let them be able to push and overpower this tension band. That's intentional, so that if they feel the need to push, they can do that and sort of get that release. And then once they relax again, then the brace will gently pull back and gently stretch them back to that dorsiflex position. The other feature that these joints have is a button to release that tension. And so this is really important with any sort of dynamic stretching brace, is to be able to take that tension away so that you, like I was saying earlier, if your child's foot is pointing down right now, we want to take that tension off of there so that you can easily get this strapped on and get their foot and their heel all the way down into the brace before we start doing that stretching. If this is turned all the way up and it's in this sort of an angle, and you're trying to put their heel in, it's not going to go. You're going to have a real struggle. So releasing that tension to allow that ankle to plantar flex to a comfortable position so you can get it put on and get that foot in the correct position. And then we work on increasing the stretching and dialing it up to the amount of tension that we want. These do have soling and tread on the bottom, so they are made to use for, I'd say, light household ambulation. So for kids that if you put them on in the living room and they want to walk to bed, or if they get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, they should be able to wear these walking around the house. They're not made for outdoor activities or certainly for like roughhousing or anything like that, but they can wear them around the house a little bit that way, and hopefully without risk of slipping or falling. So I want to talk to you about a quick update on the Surestep DASS, Dynamic Adjustable Stretching Strap AFO, and that is the addition of this sticker and this goniometer ankle joint medially, which allows us to then track and monitor the amount of actual progress that's being made with the patient as far as their range of motion. So we still have this stretching component here with this ratcheting buckle, which we can then look at and see what number we're getting up to as we ratchet that up. And that's how much tension is being created on the foot. So every time we turn that up, you can see it moves the foot just a couple of degrees. But if the patient's range of motion is stuck at a certain point, then that's where we can see on this little gauge here the exact angle. So it goes from 0 degrees, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, which is right at about 90 degrees. And then the goal is to move into about 20 degrees of dorsiflexion. So as we turn this up and as the patient's muscle loosens, then you'll be able to follow. So we're starting here and this will move all the way up like so. So this is going to be a great tool for parents to be able to see at a glance what angle the child's foot is moving into, as well as for them to be able to report to the medical team and explain to them how much progress is being made, so we can understand when we started this treatment, we may be at, minus 10 degrees or so, but as we make progress, then we can see that move, and the parents will actually be able to physically see and measure that range of motion right on their patient while they're wearing the orthosis. If you're interested in learning more about pediatric orthotic care and how to help children who are struggling with mobility, please check out our website, pediatricrehablab.com. I put together a course there both for parents and for medical providers to help them be able to help kids who are struggling. If your child or your patient is already working with pediatric orthotics, then you know that they can either be an enormous help or a daily painful struggle. And so I want to make sure that every parent and every medical provider has all of the information available in order to help their children the best way possible.